Come and dream with me.
Hello and welcome to What Do You Want to Watch, the Explosion Network's premier media podcast. Every fortnight we get together to talk about movie, TV, and online content and help you answer the question, is the real reason Tom Cruise wants to go to space to film a movie just to get away from COVID-19? Probably. That makes a lot of sense. Joining me this episode, Dylan Blight.
It's not a bad reason, you know, like any reason to escape COVID is a good reason, really, I guess.
Yeah. And also here, Ciaran Marchant.
But I feel like that would have always been on his bucket list, not just because of COVID. Like, he's done the ridiculously long underwater shot in Mission Impossible. They're just ticking boxes with Mission Impossible movies. What ridiculous locations can we film in, or weird places I can break bones in?
I feel like he couldn't do a Mission Impossible movie in space. That'd be jumping the shark. But he can do like a brand new movie in space.
No. I think if any movie would jump the shark and jump the shark well enough that people would enjoy it, it would be Mission Impossible.
I know. Maybe it's the last one that he ever does.
Look, in Mission Impossible, people love the fact that Henry Cavill reloads his arms.
That's true. It's great.
I mean, that's a reason. That's not the reason I would say I love the movies, but
I'm pretty sure.
That's the sole reason. It's the only reason. Henry Cavill reloads his arms, and that's all.
By the way, random trivia. That was a him thing. That wasn't like a director.
That wasn't Chris McQuarrie.
Do that. No, that was I'm forgetting these fucking Henry Cavill. That was a Henry Cavill. I'll do this because I'm Henry Cavill. Yeah.
Yep. All right. I'm of course your host Ashley Hobley. We've got an interesting episode this week. We'll be talking about what's in our watch history. We're going over some news, and then we'll be talking about the movie that we ended up watching, North by Northwest. But let's kick things off with what's in our watch history. Dylan, you actually went to the cinema this week, and you checked out King of Staten Island, the new Judd Apatow film starring Pete Davidson. What do you think? What is it about? What do you think?
Yeah, I thought so. It's hard. I don't know. What is the movie about? What is the movie about? That's a very good question. What is the movie about? I guess it's Pete Davidson's character. Like, I don't know. It's hard to describe. Pete Davidson's character is I think he's like mid-20s, something like that. He struggles with depression. He's still living at home. Doesn't have a job. His younger sister is like getting through college or about to finish college or whatever it's called in America. And she's played by Judd Apatow's daughter. And he's just kind of floating through life, gets high of his friends all the time. And you find out the reason that he's so depressed and, has a lot of these issues is because his dad was a firefighter and he died when he was young, but young enough to old enough to have it like affect him as a kid. So not like 3 or something where he couldn't remember him. And he was a firefighter. And then what happens is another man comes into his mum's life, who's played by Bill Burr. And by the way, the mum's played by Marissa Tomei, and she's really good in this. And Bill Burr's character also happens to be a firefighter. So of course he has a problem with this because he's like, Mum, what the fuck? This is like disrespecting dad and blah, 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 blah. And basically the film is about, I guess, him just dealing with life and antics ensue and there's some, heartfelt moments and so on and so forth. I wouldn't say there's a direct like A to B, C narrative here. It's more of just a character piece type thing. But Judd Apatow level comedy. I put this more in his pot of funny people or like he's more dramedies more than Judd Apatow's straight up comedies, which is like You're Knocked Up and 40-Year-Old Virgin and whatever. Like lots of just straight up dick and fart jokes, whereas this leans more heavily on the drama side, even though Pete Davidson is of course just known for being a straight up comic, I guess, and more or less he's playing himself. But I guess most Judd Apatow films, like the people he's made for that comedy, have always just played themselves to a degree. Like when you think of most people in his movies, they're always just kind of just playing himself. But I thought it was really good. I think it goes for a little bit too long. I guess that's my only problem. Like, it's 2 hours, 15 minutes. You could probably cut that down to under 2 hours, get it to like the 1 hour 50 mark, and it probably would have flowed a lot better. But overall, it's entertaining. Yeah, I'd probably give it like a 7.5-ish, around there.
Yeah, I'm surprised they got a 7.5 after your thought then and your it's entertaining. It sounded like it was going to be closer to a 5 or a 6. So that's not bad.
No, like it's I like it, but I can't describe why I like it without like delving into like some of the more emotional scenes that are like considered spoilers, obviously. So I'm just like, it's good. There's some stuff. They're really good scenes. There's some really great stuff between him and Bill Burr, I'll say. Even though it's so weird. Pete Davidson playing himself, basically. Bill Burr only plays himself in everything he's in, and he's just doing that again here with a terrible fucking mustache he has in this movie, but they make fun of it in the movie, so that's fine. But they're both just really good, and they have some great scenes together. They have a fight scene that's quite funny as well at one point. And like Bill Burr chucks Pete Davidson's character into this pool, and then Pete Davidson's like, "I'm going to tell my mum you tried to drown me." And then Bill Burr's like, "What are you going to tell her? You're 8 fucking feet tall. You're not going to drown in the pool." So yeah, there's some funny and emotional scenes. I think it needed to be a little bit shorter to get the ranking up there.
Okay, cool.
Another thing I just remember of note that makes it somewhat interesting is that Pete Davidson's real dad was a firefighter.
Yeah, apparently it's a very personal story.
Yeah. So that's how that all ties in. And at the end of the film, I don't think this is like a proper spoiler, but the end of the film, you have this really nice moment, and without saying kind of what leads to it, but the last shot of the film is Pete Davidson's character kind of looking over his shoulder towards where the Twin Towers stood, where they were. And that's because his dad died on 9/11 as a firefighter. So that's how the film ends. And it fades out to a in memorial for, I can't remember his dad's name, but so Davidson has a picture of him and everything. So obviously there's all of that ties into personal relevance or whatever. But I think they chose obviously not to make it about 9/11 and so on, because that may have been too close to home, but like it's obviously based on his real father and things he's been through in his own life, because he was one of the co-writers on it. Yeah,
cool. You also checked out the controversial film The Hunt, directed by Craig Zerwell, but screenplay by Damien Lindelof. What do you think? And
why is it controversial? Is there like a?
It got pulls because back last year, around the time the school shootings were happening.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I remember now. Yeah, I thought this was good. Nothing great. So the core setup for this, in case anyone doesn't know, is I can't IMDb so many things. The other girl from fucking
Betty Gilpin.
Betty Gilpin. Thank you. So she's the star. Which I think one of my complaints about this movie, and there's no way around this at this point, is they stick her on the poster. She's the focus of the trailer and all these other things. And she does become the main character of the film. However, when the film starts, you don't actually see her for like the first 20 minutes, I would say. And something that's really cool about the way the movie starts is it has all of these other sort of big enough names that they could potentially be the stars of the movie, and it keeps like starting with them. So at the start of the movie, you see this character wake up, and originally you're following Emma Roberts, right? You know, big enough star she could be to lead this movie. And you're following along with her, and she sees all these other people randomly waking up in this field. They begin working together to open up this like crate or whatever in the middle of this grounds, and then inside's all these guns and whatever. And then she dies. I'm going to spoil like the first 20 minutes. You're like, holy shit, Emma Roberts just died. And then it switches to the other person she was talking to, which is the actor who played Oliver Queen in Smallville, but I can't remember his name.
Justin Hartley.
It switches to him. Yeah, that's it. Switches to him, and you're like, oh, so he's the lead of this movie. Let's follow him for like 5 minutes here or something. He dies, and then it begins following someone else. They die. Ends up following the kind of asshole dude from that John Cena movie where they're following around their kids. Can't remember his fucking.
Cockblockers?
Yeah, no. Yes, that. But
Yes,
but not John Cena, the other dude. Whatever that dude's name is.
Ike Barowitz? Barthowitz?
Yeah, I think that sounds right. Hold on. Yeah, that's it. That begins following him around. You're like, oh, he's the star. And you're following him around for another 5 minutes. He dies. And then in comes Betty Gilpin. And now she's the lead of the movie. But I think one thing that does a big disservice to how cool the opening scene is and how sort of disorientated it makes you as a viewer is that they spent so much promotional period focusing on Betty as the lead, and it kind of it's one of those cases of the marketing team, the marketing arm ruining the creative arm of the movie because they shouldn't have done that. Yeah,
it would have been really cool by the sounds of it if Emma Thompson was
on the poster and everything.
On the poster and everything in that opening time, and then when she dies, it would be quite a
which is what they did back in the day with Scream, but they didn't pull it off yet. Like back in the day, of course, this doesn't matter now because everyone's seen it; it's old and it doesn't know how it works. But back in the day when they was promoting the original Scream, they were promoting Drew Barrymore as the star of the movie, and the movie starts with Drew Barrymore, and then Drew Barrymore dies in the first 10 minutes of Scream. So that was a big shock for people back then, and they didn't ruin that, and because they actually played along, the marketing worked with the creative. Anyway. So the rest of the movie, the core setup is you're following around Betty's character, who no one has a name in this movie. She's just known as I think she does get a name eventually, but for the most part, every character doesn't really ever say their name. So in the credits, it's like Emma Roberts' character is just like credited as like Yoga Pants Girl and all these other random things. Oh, Crystal, I think it's what she has on her name tag, but no one ever says anyone's names in this movie. And she's like, well, we're getting chased by people trying to kill us, and it's basically like a battle royale, I guess. But you're not trying to kill other people. She's just trying to survive the people trying to kill her, but they were nice enough to give her weapons to fight back, and you don't know why. And that's like the core setup for the movie. It goes in some interesting places. I guess it has some twists and turns, similar sort of fashion to Cabin Fever, but not quite as outlandish as Cabin Fever's twists and turns get. By the time I reached the end of the movie, I enjoyed who they cast as the lead villain, and I didn't actually have that spoiled, so that was nice because it was someone of note. I'm not going to say who. You can find it. Open up IMDb. It's like smack bang there. And that person and Betty have a cool showdown. And by the time you get to the end, I guess it's like pseudo starting to have like say something sort of political about right-wing, left-wing extremists to a degree, but you know, it doesn't really have anything notable of saying. It kind of just like pulls at the strings of certain topics and threads and whatnot, but it doesn't really have anything to say by the end of the movie. But and it's an enjoyable action thriller. I wouldn't call it a horror movie. There's some gory deaths, but it's definitely not like a proper horror. It's a thriller with a lot of, and I would also call it a comedy because there are several, especially in that opening 20 minutes, some of those deaths I think are meant to be like make you laugh more so than straight. Like there's literally someone who gets impaled at one point on all these fucking spikes in the ground, and then like I think Justin Hartle's character goes to like help them or something like that, and they're like missing half their body, and he tries like to pull them off the spikes, and they're like, just leave me. He's like, no, you'll be fine. It's like, they're missing half their fucking body. I don't think they'll be fine. But I enjoyed it.
Cool. To be honest, I haven't been watching very much this last couple of weeks. In between playing video games and rewatching some stuff for certain projects. I have been rewatching New Girl, which just dropped on Amazon Prime. The TV series starring Zooey Deschanel, Jake Johnson, Max Greenfield, Lamore Morris. Super enjoyable. I remember watching it as it was coming out, but I think I like dropped out like halfway through season 3 or 4. So it's been one I've been waiting to rewatch when it comes to streaming services. So I'm enjoying it so far. I think I'm like almost to the end of season 2. It's interesting to watch it now, obviously being a bit older and more close to the age of the characters. Having a similar... Yeah. and maybe relating to more characters now than I did probably back then. But yeah, the other thing is just watching. I think it's probably like a common thing going back and rewatching an old show and seeing guest stars from who have obviously gone on to bigger and better things since.
Well, everyone brings up Bruce Willis from Seinfeld or whatever the fuck it was. Friends, I think. Yeah, Friends. So Seinfeld.
Yeah. So interesting one in this one is both Katie Cassidy and Stephen Amell showed up in this season, the first season of New Girl, before they started working on Arrow together.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Who else? Also, Lizzie Kaplan was in the first season. Clark Duke, and Lake Bell, Joey King. Yeah, Martin Starr, like a bunch of people who've obviously gone on to better things since. Yeah, so that's kind of all I've been watching. We'll just quickly jump into mandatory Netflix segment of the show. Because I did watch the first episode of the latest season of Last Chance U, the football community college documentary series that follows like a football team for a whole season. This season they're following a team called Laney.
Ciaran should know.
Should I? Why should I know, Dylan?
Sports.
Called Laney College in Oakland, California, which is
well, no, sorry, I could have told you that. Honestly, Dylan, you should have given me a chance.
Sorry.
Yeah. So this one's feels quite different to the previous seasons where because a lot of the players on the teams there's no like dorms, so they're all living in Oakland, which if you don't know anything about America, is quite expensive to do. So they're living away from campus, having to drive in, working late night jobs and all that kind of thing. So yeah, it's interesting so far. I've read a little bit about what happens this season, so I'm keen to check out more. It is the final season of Last Chance U. Following football next year, they're going to be following a basketball team, so that'll be interesting. But yeah, it one of the best documentary series consistently on Netflix. So definitely check this season out. This is a good jumping on point. Obviously, it's a brand new team, so you don't need to have watched the previous 4 seasons to understand or anything. So fresh start, but one in and out. So yeah, I'm keen to check out more. Dylan, I saw that you finally watched the Hannah Gadsby special, Douglas. What'd you think?
Yes.
Did it live up?
I thought it was.
Was it a good follow-up?
I think it was very good. I think it's another very good special. I think it was a very good decision to make the follow-up not even try and be anything like or compare to what the fuck was that one called? Douglas?
Nanette.
The first one? Nanette, sorry, this is Douglas. Yeah, Nanette. This is nothing like Nanette, so if you hated Nanette, I feel like you could watch this and give Hannah Gadsby another go because this is more proper stand-up special. There's still some interesting things she chooses to do. Like I think the first 15, 20 minutes is her telling you what the rest of the show is going to be, but in such a funny way that it has jokes. And then she sets up so many threads for jokes and things later on that when she pulls every single one down and like reveals what's behind each curtain, so on and so forth, that it all just hits so well. And I think the amount of things she manages to set up in like that first 20 minutes and then pay off later in the show makes this stand out as a stand-up special, I think. And
the best description I've seen is she does time travel. It's like
pretty much.
She did the show, went back in time, then told you about the show to start off with, and then you watch the show. Yeah.
Well, she literally spends like 20 minutes saying this is what the show is going to be. And then it's like 20 minutes in and she goes, all right, I'll begin the show now. And then she like literally says one thing that she said she was going to say, because then of course that was the easy laugh. But then she doesn't do that again. Everything else after that is like sort of pulls at different things she sets up. And it's quite interesting and makes fun of the audience a couple times and different people and so forth. But I think this is like, because I already liked Hannah Gadsby before
Nanette,
Nanette, because I'd seen her some stand-up stuff she was doing back in Australia back in the day.
And she's Tasmanian.
As I said before.
And you're obligated to.
And she's Tasmanian. Yeah. So whole quick story is I saw her in Rove one time, found out she was from Tassie, so then I started trying to watch everything I could about her because she was the one comedian from Tassie I saw was making it, so I made an effort to try and support by watching anything of hers I could find and following her path. So by the time Nanette comes out, which I love, I think it's 10 out of 10, that was not what I was used to seeing from her, but I still thought it was a standout, amazing combination of comedy with a fucking TED Talk, and it's really something special that I think everyone should watch. However, this is more like what I have seen her do before. Like, this is just straight up really good comedy, and I think I'd give this like a 9. Like, I think this is a really, as far as the stand-up special goes, it's really good stand-up. I think obviously Nanette gets that 10 out of 10 because nothing's like Nanette. You know, of course, if you go into that now, having the expectation set up, it's probably not going to hit for you. But, you know, you sit down to watch that for the first time, that first week it came out or whatever, I feel like if you was in that bubble, there was something sort of special, I guess, you know? So Nanette's now on that weird thing where people go in like, oh, this is supposed to be really good. And then, what the fuck, it was a TED Talk for 30 minutes. I hate it. But no, this is good. It was very good.
Awesome. All right, so that's everything that's in our watch history this week. So let's jump in.
Crap.
Yeah, really short.
That's, yeah.
Might be the lightest.
All been playing video games.
Yeah, it's the thing. It's what's been happening.
Yeah, or watching things for other stuff. Yeah, so let's jump into the big news. And the biggest news is the Emmy nominations for 2020 came out. You guys looked over the lists? Gotten some basic views.
I expect Ciaran to have some hot takes on this. I reckon.
I had a peruse.
I guess we'll start off with some big numbers. Obviously, Netflix dominated, taking a whopping 160 nominations across both the main primetime and the Creative Arts Emmys.
From a hot take, they'll get as many next year because there are no people putting out new stuff.
It's true. Yeah. So Netflix history-making telling is the most ever for a network, even surpassing what any of the big three broadcast networks ever did when there was no real competition. Of course, Watchmen was the leading TV series in nominations, scoring 26 nods, followed by Marvelous Mrs. Maisel on Amazon, and then followed by Netflix's Ozark and HBO's Succession with 18. I guess general impressions. Dylan, what do you think? Was anything that really stood out overall?
I was about to say, do you want to discuss like the good things?
I guess we can do surprises and snubs a little bit later. But what do you think that's a fair judgment of the year?
Yeah. I mean, let's put it this way. For the most part, it's like every year there's always something that annoys me. There's something this year, of course. For the most part, I think they got most of the stuff I cared about here. I'm going to take my Watchmen flag and run several times around the globe with it and be happy about that. So,
why is it because it's only got one series that it's part of the limited time run?
Yeah, it's
section
yes.
And not the
it's a limited.
series?
It's a limited.
There's not going to be
series. It's only one
series.
series.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. I didn't know that. So.
Or imagine if they did
series.
they would put like a hyphen, something else.
Well, there was a whole kerfuffle because I remember for the first like 2 months after the show finished, people kept like, of course, nagging Damon Lindelof if he'll do season 2, if he'll do season 2. He kept saying no, but HBO still had it listed on their website as season 1. But then there was a period at some point, like 2 months after it released, that on HBO streaming service, it changed to say limited series instead of season 1. And then everyone was like, no, this is the nail in the coffin. But I think HBO was eventually like, Damon, please. And he was like, no, I've already told you 10 times. And I'm like, fine, someone change it to limited series.
Yeah.
Or because if they were going to keep up that series 1 thing, they would have had to put the Emmy nom in as a proper show, not a drama instead of the limited run. So then that changed their plans.
Not necessarily. Big Little Lies.
Oh, they could have still done some
series.
dodges. Yeah, they could have lies. Yeah.
I think maybe the Academy's a little bit more stringent.
Yeah, but if they had have got Damon to announce that he was doing another series, like then obviously they wouldn't have been able to put it in as a limited run. If Damon's like, yeah, we're doing season 2. So
even the case of for drama series, wasn't the last season of Stranger Things kind of not the greatest in terms of quality for that series?
No, it's the best one.
Was it really?
In our opinion,
As far as I'm
I
concerned.
don't know.
some
As far as
other
I'm
people may.
concerned.
Okay.
But yeah, might as well just run through three major categories. Best drama series is Better Call Saul, The Crown, The Handmaid's Tale, Killing Eve, The Mandalorian, Ozark, Stranger Things, and Succession.
Mandalorian's overrated.
I didn't think The Mandalorian should be.
I think,
my-
yeah.
I don't-
kind of list.
Yeah, I think
Like,
that's
it's solid. It's very good.
Yeah.
It's just not that good.
yeah. I like the show, but I think it getting a nom. Like I think I think the first season is fine. I don't think it's like Emmy Award winning.
I don't think it's going to
So
win.
first season has its moments.
No, I don't think it's going to win, but
I mean,
Even getting a nomination though over some other things.
give me 10 minutes. I
perks.
bet you I can find something else I thought was better than it.
I mean,
you know?
yeah. I mean, I think it fits that Game of Thrones fantasy world.
Yeah, well, that's true. That didn't deserve to win or get nominated last year either, so that's fine. That's fine. If it fits that spot.
We agree
if
to
that's where you
disagree.
wanna put it. Okay.
But yeah, and then in best comedies, we got Curb Your Enthusiasm, Dead to Me, The Good Place, Insecure, The Kominsky Method, The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, Schitt's Creek, and What We Do in the Shadows.
Yeah.
Couple of
What We Do in the
surprises
Shadows,
there.
Big one.
Is
Yeah.
that version of what? Because we talked about What We Do in the Shadows recently with what we ended up watching, but is it really that good to deserve a nomination? In terms
Apparently
of
it is. I
comedy?
still haven't
I
watched
guess
it.
so.
But apparently it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we might have to rectify that. And then best limited series was Little Fires Everywhere, Mrs. America, Unbelievable, Unorthodox, and Watchmen. Yeah, so solid list, strong list. Okay, well, Dylan, let's talk about the big snub. I think that you're probably wanting to talk about. Better Call Saul. No nomination for Bob Odenkirk. No nomination for I don't know a name because your
Look.
GIF was terrible.
They can keep snubbing Bob Odenkirk, and I'm kind of used to it at this point. But by God, if they don't fucking give him the award for the final season next year, I'm gonna kill somebody. But Reyes Sehorn should have been nominated for playing fucking Kim Wexler this season because she is the best person in the last season of that show. She stands out heads and shoulders above any other fucking female talent I've seen in the last year in TV. She is currently one of the best written characters on TV. She's one of the best written characters of the last 10 years on fucking TV, and they're not going to nominate her for that role because it's less of a showy acting role and more of a like straight up acting instead of over the top, lots of scenes screaming and playing silly characters or whatever. Like the character building she's managed to do with that character is some of the best, and they fucking snub her for it, and it is the standout disgrace of the Emmys this year that she didn't get nominated for that. Because I went from being like, Kim's an interesting character, to the last season I was like, give her all the fucking awards because she was that good in the last season. If every other season is like Bob Odenkirk's amazing, Bob Odenkirk's amazing, Bob Odenkirk's amazing. Last season it was Ray Sehorn's amazing. Like, give her the fucking awards. So yes, that is the standout snub from the awards this year. It's disgusting, absolutely disgusting.
I guess the other one people have been talking about, Big Little Lies, didn't get a drama nomination. Obviously, moving categories.
It's fine.
I
think it could have got some acting noms, but
yeah, Laura Dern, Meryl Streep both got noms. But
yeah,
surprisingly,
That's
Reese Witherspoon, despite being on 3 shows that got nominated multiple times, no Emmy nominations.
it's weird. But yeah, that is weird. But I think in all the shows that she's in that are getting nominated for stuff, she's the least standout in all of them. I think. Like, she's good in all of them, but not the standout.
Yeah. Also on my list, Apple TV obviously went hard with their launch. Only
The morning show got
a couple of nominations, but other than that, none of the big shows. Oh no, I think the one with Being Jacob or whatever, that got some like creative noms, but nothing major. which would be a blow in comparison to Disney Plus, which obviously put out The Mandalorian and got a nomination for The Mandalorian. What do you think the people at Apple TV will be feeling at the moment?
I think that everyone expected Apple TV to kind of come out and die in a year and then go away. So the fact that it's got one nomination and they're continuing to put out things that are actually like at least decent enough to warrant you telling your friends that you should check some of these shows out, then that's a success. And like, no, there's no need to flip out over Apple TV not having 5 Emmy nominated shows in its first year. You know, like it's got one. That's fine. You know, like Netflix only had one for their first couple of years too.
Yeah.
You know, they put out fucking Orange is the New Black and the President Show no one talks about anymore, and that was kind of their shows for a couple of years there. They wasn't putting out 20 Emmy nominated things every year like they are now.
Yeah. Other snubs, Westworld. Not much there, I think, was it? Jeffrey Wright, Thandie Newton only get nominated outside of technical awards. But I guess that wasn't surprising, seeing as it was kind of...
Nah. I thought the season was fine, but I don't think it needed any nominations or anything.
Let's see.
You want another standout? The one I was really happy to see was Zendaya.
Oh, happy.
No, standout
Zendaya?
happy was Zendaya getting the award for Euphoria. She that would be that was well deserved. Really, that was one that, like, on my checklist of things I wanted to see, that was one. So
yeah,
that was my emotion was Watchmen. Fuck yes, no Kim nom. That's bullshit. Zendaya, yes. That was my whole like up down of emotions.
Up down emotions. This other snubs. Interesting, Silicon Valley and Modern Family both didn't get anything for their final seasons, despite being like a fixture in the comedy category. Although it is kind of stacked, that's a strong category at the moment, so not too surprising. I was happy to see All the Love for the Good Place, obviously. 3 acting noms plus Best Comedy. Disappointing, a little bit disappointing. Kristen Bell couldn't work her way into Best Lead Actress, but hopefully at least one of them gets a a win at the ceremony. Listen, let's talk about the biggest snub of the entire Emmys.
Here we go. I can smell a joke.
I can smell a meme coming here.
Listen,
you know what he
in
says
the
when he's about to
category,
tell a joke? He says, listen.
In the category of outstanding original music and lyrics, toss a coin to your Witcher, not nominated.
Oh, that's
actually 100% is
what I mean. What is nominated?
What a snub.
What is there?
Hang on, let me.
Don't set up the joke and then not have the information.
No, I did have it. I did have it a second ago.
Because I did read all this, but don't expect me to remember.
What's the judging period for the Emmys?
The voting starts in August, I think so. Nominated is Letter to My Grandfather, Godfather from The Black Godfather, All for Us from Euphoria, Eat Shit Bob from Last Week Tonight with John Oliver, Build It Up from Little Fires Everywhere, One Less Angel from Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, Memorize from This Is Us, and The Way It Used to Be from Watchmen.
I mean, I haven't heard all those, so I can't choose which one to kick out for The Witcher, but...
I mean, it is a disgrace. Yeah.
Considering how big that song went for that show and all that, like the extra kind of...
Yeah, but the Emmy Association isn't like, which one memed the best?
Yeah. Also, I saw Tiger King got 6 nominations.
Yeah, I love how that's squeezed in.
That squeezed in. That was up for best documentary series. I think that was an interesting category. Let me just pull that.
It's not going to win. If that wins, I don't know, I'm out of it. I think I gave it like a 7 in our review or whatever.
Oh yeah. So outstanding documentary or non-fiction series. The nominees are American Masters, Hillary, McMillions, The Last Dance, and Tiger King.
Last Dance wins.
Last Dance has to win after breaking the internet.
Yeah.
Couple of let me just pull some interesting trivia this year. Watchmen becomes the highest nominated limited series of all time with 26, obviously. Interesting. Olivia Colman and Helena Bonham Carter made history as becoming the first, with Vanessa Kirby and Claire Foy becoming the first pairs to play the same character on a TV show and get nominated for a series.
Yeah.
Okay.
Of course,
That was for the Crown?
for the Crown,
For
yes.
Helen? Yeah, okay.
This year saw the highest ever number of women nominated for directing comedy, drama, and limited series categories.
Fuck yes.
That's cool.
Damn straight.
And then Netflix sweeped the writing for a variety special category, which pretty much involves just stand-up comedy specials. Good
But
for
that
them.
is funny because, like, it's funny to think that Netflix owns that. When you hear variety and you'd think, like, normal, like, cable TV type specials and whatever else usually pick it up. Like, Netflix is just slowly taking over every category.
Yep. Pretty much.
I guess when you start putting out that much content,
Yeah.
like, we were talking the other week about just how much comedy stand-up content Netflix has got really is more than any cable TV show or station is really going to be putting out.
But yeah, you look at the 5 names, obviously, it's Dave Chappelle, Hannah Gadsby, Patton Oswalt, Seth Meyers, and the John Mulaney special are the 5 nominated. So that
I've watched, like, 3 of those.
yeah.
Wow!
Already catching up before I knew it.
Yeah, it's pretty high standards. Marvelous Mrs. Maisel set the record for most nominations for a streaming comedy with 54 nominations now. It will compete next year probably to break the record, which currently is held by that political Netflix show that we can't talk about anymore, at 56,
Yes.
with Handmaid's Tale, which is currently also on 54 nominations.
House of Twigs.
That's the one. Which, by the way, still need to watch that 3rd season of
Marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. It came out at a shit time when I had other things
end of the year,
I had
yeah.
to watch, and it just, I was like, I want to watch this, and then by the time I could, it kind of passed and went. So I feel like at this stage, I'm just going to make sure I can watch it before the 4th drops. I presume the 4th's going to drop around at the same time,
Probably.
like late December or early January or something. So
other surprise. It's interesting as well. Russell Crowe not getting a nomination despite him winning the Golden Globe earlier this year for the loudest voice.
talking about Russell Crowe, you know what I think I'm going to go watch at cinemas tomorrow?
Gladiator?
Unbelievable or whatever it's called. No,
Unhinged. Bloody movie of the year incoming. If you haven't watched the trailer for Unhinged, do yourself a favor, go watch the trailer. I watched it in cinemas for the first time the other day. Never heard of this movie. I'm sitting there watching this trailer. The movie is literally about Russell Crowe, like, overtakes a lady in traffic, and then she, like, beeps his horn at him, and he goes, well, that's it. I'm going to terrorize you all day. And that's what the movie is.
yeah,
It's called Unhinged. It sounds like it should be straight to DVD. But I was like, this is great. Russell Crowe just playing a crazy person. I'm all about it.
Oh, that was the other one. Obviously, Watchmen got a lot of nominations, especially in the Outstanding Supporting Actor category. With who is it?
Who do they bill as leading in that?
Leading, they've got
Jez
Jeremy Irons for Andrew Invite.
Yeah.
Regina King, obviously, as the lead.
Yeah.
And
And then everyone else is supporting at that point.
yes, but
surely?
they've got Yaha Abdul Mateen II. That's fair. But then they've got Jovan Adebayo and Louis Gossett Jr. The 2 versions of Hooded Justice.
Yeah, I was about to say, yeah.
How did Tim Blake Nelson not get it? Or no. Is that who it was?
Yeah, Tim Blake. Yeah. Yeah, Tim Blake
How-
Nelson.
How was he not one of the nominees? That's what I want to know.
He's quite good. But they're all quite good.
They're all quite good, but I mean, I'd say he's probably at least top 2 out of that show.
No. No way. No, the best 2
Of
people on that show is
that 4.
Regina King
No,
and
out
Jeremy
of that,
Irons,
those
like,
4, not for supporting actor.
Oh no, that's a hard. That's a hard bargain. Look, you throw me a bowl of the most perfect looking apples in the world, and you're saying pick the ones that are the most perfect, and I say, Ash, they're all pretty fucking perfect to
They're
me.
all
So
pretty perfect.
there's a reason I've watched this show twice.
Yeah. So Succession, obviously, sweep nominations. Schitt's Creek did very well. I liked Andre Braugher picked up a nomination for Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Yeah, excellent. Jeremy Pope from Hollywood. I was really happy that he picked up a nomination. He was really good in that.
One random nom for that show. There you go.
Oh, there was two. There was Holland Taylor also picked one up for supporting actress. I was surprised he was up for lead actor, but that's beside the point. Yeah. So overall, really good. We'll see how the actual event happens. September 20th. If it happens, is it just going to be a Zoom call?
Is it going to be? It's going to be online. There's no way it's an actual thing. Let me rule that.
It'd be ridiculous for them to do something like that.
We solve this for you right now. Also, is Trent Reznor going to win the best music? Because he should.
Who?
For Watchmen, Trent Reznor.
Who's up? Let me check who's up for that.
I don't know. I don't know who else is up, but I don't care. Music composition for limited series, movie or special is from Hollywood. Hooray for Hollywood Part 2. Little Fires Everywhere, The Spider Web, Miss America, Unorthodox, and Watchmen.
Yeah, I'd say
it's summer and we're running out of time.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if it
Which isn't my favorite song off the whole thing, but that's still a good one. It's probably second. My favorite is the song called Numb with a Motherfucking Gun, which has the best beat to anything.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Interesting. It'll be interesting.
Listen to that. How do you not get hyped to this, Ash? How do you not get hyped? Just wait. The bass kicks in a second, and then look, it builds. She's in the car. She's driving the car, and then she takes around a corner. Bam!
Oh.
And we're copyright striked. You're gonna have to edit out the music and then edit in a different song that's similar, so people can understand what I'm saying, but it's not actually the song.
Yeah, that's gonna be too tough.
You got it. You got this.
Yeah, so I guess it'll be interesting, especially this year where the previous winners won't be back to compete in any category, any of the main four. So, look forward to.
Good last year. All these shows ended. Are we doing predictions?
We'll be doing predictions. Episode that comes out 14th, 28th, the 11th of September. So look forward to that one. We'll do predictions. We'll do our usual Emmy special. What do we end up watching? So look forward to that. Let's move on to the next story. Interesting news in America. Universal and AMC have come to an agreement in which Universal will be allowed pretty much to put their movies up for premium video on demand within 3 weeks of their theatrical debut. Of course, this on the back of Universal and AMC getting into a bit of a tiff after they released Trolls World Tour straight to video on demand rather than having a run in theaters. Interestingly, apparently AMC will be taking a share in the new revenue streams. So they'll get a cut of whatever the $20 US ticket is, so for the rental. But then it'll drop down to the usual price after the 3-month period. So for 3 months, you'll pay the premium rental fee. It'll then, after 3 months, it'll drop down to the usual rentals that we currently have now. This good move, bad move. I feel like
it's the only move they could make.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, is this the first step at the end of cinemas? If people can just rent a movie at home for $20 and not go to the cinema 3 weeks after a movie's out. Admittedly, they don't have to put it out after 3 weeks. There's no agreement in the deal that they have to put it out. Obviously, something like Jurassic World Dominion or F9 comes out next year. I don't think they're going to be putting it on rental services after 3 weeks. I probably want people to still come to the cinemas.
I don't. My current thought on when everything gets back to normal in 10 years or how fucking long it takes. Feels like it's going to take 10 years at this stage. But I just think it's going to cut down potentially the length of time between a cinema run ends and it's a available VOD. I think by the end of this, people are just going to kind of get used to being able to get stuff faster and quicker, and then maybe we enter a new world where stuff just moves faster in and out. Because they'd usually like that. Cinemas and retail have that whole certain period set
3
up.
months.
Because the way they print and stuff now, and the way that you can just chuck something up on iTunes, and obviously just have people buy it, but you still have to wait 3 months or 2 months or however long it is after a movie's out cinemas to be able to buy it. That's just as a the white flag period between the cinemas and retail and whatnot. So they don't want it out too fast because then people won't go to cinemas and so on and so forth. So I feel like maybe that period will just get shortened, but cinemas aren't going to end because movie companies still make the most of their money from cinemas. So they need the cinemas to run as much as the cinemas need the movie companies to run. So the cinema's not going to end. I just feel like maybe they'll renegotiate into a new world where we've got a shorter turnaround period that's still good for everyone, which I'd be fine with, obviously.
Yeah. Ciaran?
I don't know. I don't think it's gonna go one way or the other when we eventually can go back to some kind of normality. I think they find a happy medium between the two of them where maybe some movies that weren't always going to do that well in the cinemas are just going to come out in this way with premium kind of rentals through streaming services. I just don't see them completely kind of trying to get rid of cinemas. I think there's too much kind of quote unquote day trip aspect to it. There's too much of a family thing where families go to cinemas together, and people still are going to start missing going to the cinema and enjoying popcorn, grabbing their drinks, and chilling out in the cinema. I think especially once the quote unquote all clears on and cinemas are all back full running. I think especially around Australia there'll be maybe a mini cinema boom where people will want to go to the cinema to be able to kind of do something that they used to do before all this crap started happening.
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting that it's just one studio with one theatre chain that's come to this agreement. It's not like across the board, like a union of cinema chains and a union studio. So I guess we'll just see how it plays out. Yeah,
it kind of sucks for the other cinema chains because it's like, okay, the one cinema chain that kind of chucked a tantrum and started, getting his knickers in a bunch is now getting a piece of the cake.
Potentially, yeah.
Is now kind of grabbing a bit of the cake that maybe the rest of the chains aren't going to get, which is, it kind of segregates and changes up that kind of landscape again.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just, it's an odd one. It's an odd move. Obviously, a good future-proofing move, I guess, especially currently at the moment, where obviously we don't know when people in America are going to be able to get to cinemas safely ever again. And I guess it also will normalize that premium price for rentals not long after things come out of the cinemas, so there won't be, hopefully, those millions of one-star reviews because they have to pay $20 for a rental of a movie that they were previously expecting to be $6, $3, something like that.
If you wanted another sign, user reviews are completely pointless and stupid. Just go look at that. The fact that all these movies on iTunes are rated really low, and then you look at the user reviews and it's just this is too expensive. I'm like, well, you're not really reviewing the movie. You're just talking about the price, but okay.
But yeah, I mean, it will be interesting to see how that plays out. I mean, would you be more likely to watch something at home rather than go out to the cinema for something that maybe is not
as someone
blockbuster quality?
No, I'll go to cinema for most things. I was about to say someone who's just paying to go.
I guess it'd be $30 or something here in Australia. So
that's where it starts getting a little.
No, that's way too much.
Maybe
I paid $12.50
wanted to
go
see something with your family. I guess families is probably the group that's
works out better the more people you have watching it, the head count type thing. But I pay $12.50 of the Telstra movie ticket thing, right? Go cinema. I take my own drink. I take my own snacks. I don't buy anything. So I pay $12.50 straight to go to cinema every time. And you go, So anything above that is too expensive. That's why whenever people are like, oh, how do you go to cinema so much, Dylan? I'm like, because I don't fucking buy popcorn and drinks. It's not that expensive.
Yeah. Interesting story. I guess we'll see how that one develops. I guess continuing on the cinema train. Tenet has again set its dates going forward. It currently, as of recording, looks like it will be releasing internationally first, August 26th, before releasing in select cities in America, September 2nd. Do you think it's going to hit this date? Do you think this is going to stay? Are they actually going to release it in international audiences first? And do you think the current uproar from American citizens that they'll just pirate everything is going to be such a big deal?
Yeah, this is going to happen now. I think they've finally come to I think the studio heads have finally come to terms with the fact that America is just kind of up shit creek for a lot longer than they originally obviously thought it was going to be an issue with COVID. And I think they're obviously seeing other countries like Australia where 90% of the country is doing pretty good, and then, you just have one state on fire, and they're like, well, that would be great. To be
There's little fires everywhere at the moment,
like
really.
Yeah, I guess.
There's New South Wales is.
Well,
It's
there's
getting
little
there.
fires there, and then
You just-
Victoria's on fire.
it's
I mean,
just not
maybe
being
we
put
should
out to
maybe we
dry
shouldn't
like
use
Victoria.
fires. That's probably not the best.
Oh, yeah,
Not
that's
so
true.
bad. That's,
Yeah.
mm,
You
true,
can't
true,
use
true,
any
true.
word, really. We've been through everything this year, so whatever word you use. But no, so I think this has happened. I think they finally realized that what can they do that is the opposite of this? They sit on the movie for a year. They make absolutely no money. There's no way that's going to fly with the executives. So you put it out internationally. You make as much money as you can there. You put it out in the 2 cities in America that you can put it out in, and you make what money you can there. You put it on VOD. I think you announce it's going to go on VOD like a month and a half or 2 months. I don't know. I feel like a month and a half to a month. I don't know. Like, I feel like they need to get the VOD out faster to try and like mitigate the cinema thing, or they do the whole.
Maybe just Americans just need to suck it up and wait. We have to wait for stuff all the time.
That ain't going to happen. That ain't going to happen, though. So you need to find an option for people who are willing to pay, but where they can't actually go to the cinema. So maybe they announce that it's going to go VOD for $30 or whatever, like a month after cinemas or something like that. And then there'll be some amount of people that may be willing to wait or something like that. I don't know, but then they need to work out something. I think the fact that they're finally just deciding to put it out internationally is what they need to do. I think that's what all movie companies just need to do, because what is the opposite? Like, if imagine a world in which literally only Australia was fine. In that case, I would still be saying the exact same thing, which is that you're like putting it out and making some money here is better than sitting on it for what may be literally 12 months before cinemas open in the majority of America. So what choice do you have at this stage? Put it on the VOD thing for $30. Put it in cinemas that you can. Deal with it. The world we live in. Google this week announced that their employees are working from home until next July. Next July. So, like, to put into perspective for how some companies in America are having their employees, like, quarantined for how long and whatever, work from home.
Yep.
Like, so the cinemas aren't opening next month. They're opening the next month after or the next month after, So they missed the summer blockbuster period in America this year. It's a write-off. So you got to do something.
Yeah. Ciaran, what are your thoughts?
I think it's not making the money sitting in a quote unquote vault somewhere or on somebody's server or in the cloud.
There's so many movies that have been delayed till 2021 already. So why?
Eventually, you got to put out something.
You also got to capitalize on there being like no big movies out at the moment. Like, if you look at it in a way that's like, well, the market's kind of free at the moment. If we drop something massive right now, it won't hurt. Like, it won't, won't do anything bad. It's not like it's going up against anything. Whereas next year, if you could be going up against lots of different big blockbuster movies. So I think there's pros and cons to all decisions in this matter, and I don't think there's a quote-unquote winning choice in this. You've just got to choose which side you want to gamble on and roll your dice.
I don't think the executives of these companies would be happy with a complete year write-off of any money being made full stop. You know? Like
I'm sure they're making...
Well,
all
happened.
these studios are making money.
They're
through their past properties,
yeah, I'm sure they do, but I'm saying, like, I don't think they would be happy with them putting out absolutely zero movies all year when they had an option to put out at least one or two to make some money and push things out the door and whatever else. Because if all of the studios release none of their movies this year and they just all sit on them, they're not making any money from those, and then that potentially backs up other properties, that backs up other projects that they may have had, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The calendar gets fucked completely. You know, this thing gets balanced, this thing gets knocked out of the way, plans for this, plans for that. So it's like, at some stage, some things just have to come out. I'm saying this from a completely
Selfish
point of view where I want to watch Tenet as well, by the way. Completely admitted. Like, they're like, Tenet's coming out in Australia. I'm like, thank fuck. Like, just give it to me already. Fuck America. You know, like, give me the movie.
Yeah, I mean, it would be interesting. Obviously, the gross hasn't been great so far. Let's have a look. The King of Staten Island last week made just over $1 million Australia-wide.
It's pretty good.
See, hang on.
Given.
Let me just pull up worldwide numbers.
It went VOD in America. So I don't know if it has numbers. Would it?
No, that doesn't have weekly
No.
numbers. Yeah, so domestic in America last week, the highest grossing film was The Rental, which made $650,000. But
as a rental.
No,
it was at cinemas.
It was in cinemas.
The ones that are open.
No.
The ones that are open,
Fair enough.
I think drive-ins have made a big resurgence because that is somewhat safe as long as you like clean the little. I don't know how drive-ins. Yeah, the speakers.
I don't know.
I assume it's like a FM radio thing, right? I would imagine.
Yeah.
So
I think
I remember back in the day, you had to like get a speaker that you stuck in your window.
Yeah.
But probably not anymore. Yeah, I think it's good for us. Obviously, that is coming out. I don't care if it comes to VOD or not in America. They can wait, in my opinion. They're all concerned about there being spoilers on the internet after the movie comes out. But I feel like, as someone else pointed out, Parasite was out everywhere else in the world for a good 12 months before it came out in America. And no, there was no spoilers for that film anywhere.
Unless you went looking, I suppose.
Unless you went actually looking for them, people weren't posting them. But someone said as soon as Midsummer came out, there was spoilers all over the place from that film that people in places like here couldn't see for several months and that kind of thing. So, I mean, it's just unfortunate that America is not in a position where they can go see cinema, go to the cinema. So I think they should just put the movie out. Let us enjoy it. I mean, you even look back at the Marvel movies. A lot of them were released in Australia and other places like at least a week or so before they're
sometimes
released in the
2
US.
weeks early. Yeah.
Yeah, and they were never like spoiled or anything. So I don't think that's too much of an issue. I think Americans just have like a thing where they need to tweet every single thought that's in their minds, not caring about spoilers at all. Or they've kind of been conditioned through TV and that kind of thing to share everything and get them memes out as quick as possible. But other places in the world are a bit more respectful. That might be a bit of a hot take, but
Take that, America.
Thus why we don't all have COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's safe to say.
We've got more Karens than we do.
Yeah. So, yeah, looking forward to Tenet in a month, hopefully.
Well, we're basically August. Let's just say it this month at this stage.
This month? It's not too far away.
Yeah. By what day does this come out? Friday? It's August by the time this comes out. It's the 29th.
No, it'll be the 31st.
Today is recording.
It'll come out the 31st of July. But that, again, less than a month. Because it'll come out the 26th. Yeah. Moving on. Guys, did you know Comic-Con happened this week?
I did.
Ciaran, did you know Comic-Con happened this week?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, it did. Comic-Con at home happened over the weekend. And to say it did not do very well.
Live up to the hype of Comic-Con?
Did not do great. Of course, all the panels debuted on the YouTube channel. with the average number of views for it being 15,000, which on YouTube is quite small. And the social media engagement is down 94% from last year's live event.
I didn't know it was even a thing. I haven't even seen anything about it online. Like, that's... Yikes.
Yep, so the event happened from July 22nd to July 26th. Of course, the San Diego event. Can't believe you didn't notice any of that.
Sorry, it was missing a one-day event is perfectly fine, but missing a 4-day event, yikes.
Yep, so pretty much every statistic about social media is down. Even like numbers. Some of the studio like events and panels did reasonably well. I believe the New Mutants panel got 300 views. I think the Bill and Ted one did reasonably good numbers as well.
This is their fault.
Yeah, has this just been mismanaged, or this is
horrible.
Does this not translate to digital? Is this an event that needs to be taken place in person because having people there builds the hype around the event?
Obviously that's a part.
That plus a lot of the big studios didn't really get involved. Marvel had like one panel about one of these Disney Plus documentary series that are coming up. DC is obviously holding their own event, so I don't think they had a lot. And a lot of the other studios are not showing much because they don't know what's going to happen with production or releases and that kind of thing. So it's kind of a weird situation, but yeah, the numbers are not great, obviously.
Yeah, there wasn't enough there to make it a hype event, but I still think that the numbers they had and the fact that Ciaran hadn't even heard about it or seen anything on Twitter at all or anything kind of proves the point that probably your average person had no idea that the event was on because they did a horrible job at promoting it and do anything about it. They just had the things come on YouTube or whatever. You watch them good to go. They should have been streaming on Twitch and they should have had 8-hour events all day. They should have had the pre-recorded bits slotted in between a live host doing things. They should have had someone on social media.
IGN was doing stuff. Did you know
IGN did stuff. Yeah, I did. That's where I watched most.
Ciaran, did you know that
stuff? Yeah.
No. Like, the thing is, considering even, talking about the average person, like, I spend a decent amount of time on YouTube, I spend a decent amount of time on Twitter, and, my Twitter sphere is a lot of pop culture people and people in this kind of environment, and I saw nothing about it. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I just, there was not a single thing to kind of direct me to go and watch or that I saw that let me know it was going on.
I would say, too, for most people every year, the most watched things at Comic-Con is usually just the trailers. And that's what, for people who don't attend, like the things they're watching the most are just the trailers that come out of it. So I suppose you didn't have that going for it. I still think they could have done a much better job at hyping up some of the panels through a proper live event, but they just screwed the pooch.
You at least hear about panels that are going on, and of course, you didn't have the obvious flood of cosplayers in your social medias, but there's normally something. Normally if you're following voice actors or actors in general, you would hear something about it potentially. It's just, it seems really, really weird.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, there wasn't not many big things. There was a Star Trek panel. Bill and Ted panel hosted by Kevin Smith. Again, the New Mutants panel was there. But really, to be fair, the average for these videos, I feel, is getting dragged down by a lot of these smaller panels that would have been held in not Hall H, Yeah. So it's probably making it look a little bit worse than it actually is. Like small niche panels all over the place, but they just didn't have the content to the big name content to draw anybody in, and it didn't help that the people who actually did go didn't help them very much. I think I read here the Bill and Ted trailer dropped 2 days before their panel. They couldn't have shown it as part of their panel, and then the Star Trek Discovery Season 3 premiere date was announced days after the panel.
Oh, good.
So, bizarre, crazy. But I mean, I watched part of obviously the New Mutants one got a lot of attention because they actually showed new footage from that movie. So that was an interesting watch. I think that actually has a good chance of doing well. It's obviously not going to go great numbers financially, purely because there's not.
I think it's going to do a lot better now.
It's going to be the only thing out. Which actually, it's going to go. Actually, if it comes out 28th of August, that's right up against Tenet. So,
I still think it doesn't matter. Like, people go watch Tenet and watch that next weekend, whatever. So it's not like there's heaps coming out.
Yeah, and I did enjoy the opening to the panel that had like all the dates show up on the screen and then got crossed out. It's been delayed like 6 times. Very amusing.
This is it's weird how I keep being every time I watch a trailer for this movie, I go, this looks good, and then they delay it, and I go, all right, here's a new trailer. This also looks good, and then they delay it, and I'm like, why do I keep letting myself thinking this looks good when they keep delaying it? Like, surely it's going to be terrible, but I'll find out because I'm still like, this looks good to me. So
it's such a weird movie because the story behind it, I don't know what it is. Like, they said they were going to delay it for reshoots. They never did reshoots.
That you know of.
No, they said that the movie exactly the movie that they shot originally.
Yeah, sure. Secret reshoots to tie it into the secret new Marvel universe.
I mean, maybe. I mean, they got a pretty stellar cast of, like, young and up-and-coming actors, so who are now, like, 3 years older than they would have been.
Yep. Maisie Williams.
Maisie Williams would have been like a big deal if they had released it on time, but now not so much. She's kind of hasn't done much since Game of Thrones. The only other thing, the thing that actually made me realize the Comic-Con was on this week was the Dragon Prince panel, the Netflix animated show, because Netflix put up the little video from the panel where the creator revealed to the voice cast that they got renewed for 4 more seasons. So that was a cool moment. But yeah, other than that, kind of a bust. Yeah. So do you think assuming things don't get better, are we going to get Comic-Con at home again next year? Or
I don't want to think that far ahead.
I don't want to think that we're still at that point.
America is that point.
12 months, so yeah, I know. America's definitely going to be there. It's just, I hope that we get to the point where it doesn't have to be like all online, that it isn't like a public event, but it isn't just all online. I doubt it, though. I doubt it, you would say.
Let me ask you this question. Can I count the Zack Snyder tweeted video of the Superman suit as part of Comic-Con?
No, that was like part of a separate event, wasn't it?
That was him teasing that he's going to have a trailer at the DC event. But
okay.
I think it was in the week of Comic-Con he tweeted that video. So is it then part of Comic-Con?
No, I don't think so.
Either way, I'm excited for that trailer.
Moving on. Last story of the week. Witcher is getting a prequel. The new live-action prequel series is going to be called The Witcher: Blood Origin. It will take place in the Elven world 1,200 years before the events of Henry Cavill's starring Witcher series.
Oh, no.
And the series will follow the origins of the very first Witcher, as well as the events that brought together the worlds of monsters, men, and elves.
Before anyone says anything, I just want to note how funny it is to me that sometimes this happens quite often, that Ash will be reading a story on here and I'll be looking at Ciaran and it's a story he's interested in, so he'll start he's looking up and he's listening. But so many times I'm watching Ciaran and I straight away just start thinking, he doesn't know this. Like, this is the first time he's hearing this.
This is the first time, because I don't listen to, I don't you know what, I come on to What Do You Want to Watch to take in the news. Okay?
You do, though. The amount of times I sit there and watch you and go,
it's great.
You've never heard this before. And that's why you'll be like, oh no, I'm getting live reacts of your initial impressions.
I feel like that adds more to the show too.
It amuses me.
I think my ignorance is a real benefit.
But the amount of times it's something that I think is like big news that everyone knows, and then I'm like, how's he not heard this? This isn't the Comic-Con. Like, this was everywhere when they announced it.
I just don't. No,
You're like, I'm on
Dylan,
Twitter
start
all the
sending-
time. Let me correct you. You're not.
No. Dylan, just start messaging me this stuff. Just start, hook me up.
Yep. So the prequel series is going to be spearheaded by Declan DeBarra, who wrote one of the episodes of The Witcher. It's the showrunner from The Witcher, Laura Schmidt-Hirsch, is going to act as executive producer, while the author of the books, Andreas Sapkowski, is serving as creative consultant. In a statement with Deadline, DeBarra said, "As a lifelong fan of fantasy, I'm beyond excited to tell the story of The Witcher blood origin. A question has been burning in my mind ever since I read the Witcher books. What was the Elven world really like before the cataclysmic arrival of humans? I've always been fascinated by the rise and fall of civilizations, how science, discovery, and culture flourish right before that fall, how vast swaths of knowledge are lost forever in such a short time, often compounded by colonization and a rewriting of history, leaving only fragments of civilization's true story behind. The Witcher Blood Origin will tell the tale of the Elven civilization before its fall, and more importantly, reveal the forgotten history of the very first Witcher." Ciaran, as you're processing this, what are your initial thoughts?
I want to be optimistic.
What's your problem? What's the issue?
My issue is I wish let The Witcher have another series of being good. Like let the normal Witcher series have another series of being good before you start diving into these spin-offs.
I don't think it's going to affect it. Like you've got
well, not affect it, but I'm like at the same time I don't know. It's weird where I don't believe, off the top of my head, I don't believe there's like this will be an original story for them. Yeah, it's just I find it's often hard. It's like when we have discussions about what's The Witcher going to be like when they get to a point where The Witcher's no longer about Geralt, and I'm very pessimistic about it because of how much I enjoy that character and love that character. So this could prove me wrong, and this could prove me wrong. It's just when it's at that point where we started hearing, like a couple years ago, we started to hear about all of the Game of Thrones spin-off series that HBO were planning.
Still haven't made a single one.
Yeah, still haven't made a single one. So it's like,
which has beaten them. They've only got one season now.
So yeah, look, we'll see. I'm just pessimistic.
Tell them, will you?
Yeah, I think this has room to be something really cool. I also think it has room to completely just be absolute garbage. Because like as he goes into his whole spiel there, and he talks about how like this series is about colonization, and that's what he talks about there. Like elves running a place, then humans show up, right? So there's no way you can't do this series without drawing on like real life colonization. And I feel like you could either do that really bad to the point that it's kind of offensive, or you do it really well, and that means that the humans have to be the bad guys in the series throughout the entire show, and the elves, of course, have to be the good guys. Which is interesting because, of course, in The Witcher, the elves are often seen as the bad guys for lots of different points. So people may not automatically buy into that. But yeah, I feel like whenever you tackle anything that's about colonization, even if people want to pretend it's not because it's a fantasy world, I think it can be really good done right, or really bad if not done well. So that's we don't know anything about the show really, so there's not much to delve into. It will be interesting to see how, I guess, people react to a spin-off so quickly that doesn't have the main reason people like the first season of The Witcher so much, which is Henry Cavill, of course. I don't think, if you were to ask Joe Schmo on the street who watched the first season and said he's a fan but has never read the books or played the games, what's the reason you like the show so much, his answer would probably be Geralt. It's not going to be like the world and lore of the Witcher universe, which may be the answer that a lot of book fans give you. So that's why I think it's going to be interesting to see how those people react. Whereas I guess more people who have played the games or read the books, they're more open to expanded universe stuff without Geralt, because they've already had a taste test or read more of the books or played more of the games that open up the bigger universe to you. So it's very fast to jump into a spin-off, but Netflix is pretty good at just kind of greenlighting things they think are going to be good ideas, and they cancel things pretty fast if they're not working for them. So they must think it's a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, this is the second Witcher kind of spin-off that they've gotten motion. They've also
the animated series.
They've got the animated film from Studio Mia that was announced back in January. So I think it makes sense trying to expand this world, make it their like a franchise for Netflix. Obviously, we saw how good their series did when it launched, so I'm sure that helped get this idea across the board, seeing as everybody kind of dives back into Witcher. The book's sold out everywhere. Everybody's kind of gotten into that world, and I think it makes sense to try and capitalize on it as quickly as possible. From a purely business sense, as long as it creatively is interesting, and it helps that they've got the original author on board as a creative consultant to greenlight certain things, I think, as well. So, yeah.
But he's so bad. It's really weird, right? I don't think I've ever had a situation with an author where I've been purely in love with their books, with the world they've created, with their character, but think the author is just a ridiculously terrible human being.
Sorry, I zoned out for a second. Are we talking about Harry Potter now, or no?
You got me.
Oh,
there,
yeah,
actually.
that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
There.
Sorry, you got me. Okay, sorry. I will take that back. There is
the author of
recently
Ender's
there
Game
wasn't
series,
until recently, the last couple of years.
Ready Player One, the Ender's Game series.
I didn't read Ready Player One.
There's so many book series where like the author is a garbage person.
Did you say
so
Ender's Game?
It's pretty common, or just hold on. Let's be fair. I don't think the Andre whatever like he just seems a bit. He kind of gives me.
Is it just because he's upset
he's,
that CD Projekt Red?
Yeah, no. I don't.
No, there's other stuff that he's done.
Like, I just want to, because I said garbage. I don't think he's like a garbage person like J.K. Rowling or anything. I think some people have issues because he's just sort of, I guess, in comparison to Alan Moore at times. I guess is my comparison. I would say sort of thing where he gets really.
He thinks his work is superior to other people's, or
yeah. I've heard some certain sorts of remarks or whatever, and then different sorts of things.
He's just like the whole does, even though like the original, him selling the rights to The Witcher as a game, not believing that it's going to do very well, and then getting I think it was like 300 or something. It wasn't very much.
Yeah.
And then getting pissed off at the fact that it made so much money. Like that kind of stuff where I'm like,
but he's not J.K. Rowling or anything. Is the
no,
point.
He's not that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not that level of just okay, fair enough.
Yeah. So interesting. I will say the most interesting thing about this, of course, the series again being spearheaded by Declan DeBara. His Wikipedia page has us as one of his references.
Oh, is that the one? Is that really the one?
Yep.
That's funny.
Yeah. So when everybody goes look up for him for look him up on Wikipedia, they'll scroll down and see Explosion Network.
Do people scroll that far down in Wikipedia though? That's the question.
I mean, the article is very short.
I see we get hits towards our site from Wikipedia, and that's why I found this out, because I was like, why are people coming to our site from Wikipedia? And then I looked into why and found it was because we're credited as the source for announcing that he directed an episode of The Witcher back in the day. Yeah. Which, by the way, our announcement that he directed it was because when my review went live, and in our reviews we list all the directors of any TV series.
Directors and writers,
so, yeah, which most other sites don't do. Like, they don't list all the directors or even list directors. So I think that's why. Anyway, we're the creditor source, which is a funny little Explosion Network tidbit for you.
Tidbit, yeah. All right, that's all the news for this episode. Let's move into what we end up watching. Dylan, what did we end up watching?
North by Northwest.
I told you, I'm not Kaplan.
Games? Must we?
I can't go to the police. My fingerprints are on the knife, and they think I murdered a man for revenge.
You're wanted for murder on every front page in America. How do I know you aren't a murderer?
You don't. I'm an advertising man. I've got a job, a secretary, 2 ex-wives, and several bartenders dependent upon me.
Yes, the 1959 film directed by Alfred Hitchcock, starring Cary Grant, Eva Marie Saint, James Mason, Jesse Royce Landis, Adam Williams, Edward Platt, Josephine Hutchinson, Leo G. Carroll, Martin Landau, and Philip Ober. A hapless New York advertising executive is mistaken for a government agent by a group of foreign spies and is pursued across the country while he looks for a way to survive. Dylan, you had the pick for this episode. Why'd you pick North by Northwest?
Because I'm holding the Blu-ray in my hand and it's been in the pile of Blu-rays I haven't watched list that I bring up every so often, and now we've ticked another one off it. But Ash is like, because I told him this other day, the reason I got reminded it was sitting in that pile was because I was playing the Destroy All Humans remake that recently came out on PS4 and Xbox and whatever else, and there was a level in it which was, I think it was called Something by Something, but it was a play on words for the title of this movie, with even like the background image of the loading screen being a play on this movie's poster. And I was like, that's funny, that's a take on North by Northwest, a movie I haven't seen but I understood the joke about. And at the time I was trying to think of a movie to watch for this week's episode, so I went, that's a good idea. Thanks, Destroy All Humans. That's my pick.
Okay, so you've never watched this before?
No.
What did you think of North by Northwest?
Yeah, it was great. Very good. Really funny. It was a lot funnier than I thought it was going to be. I think I haven't watched all of Hitchcock stuff, but I would say out of, the big ones I have watched and some of the other random bits here and there and whatever else, but obviously I don't think Hitchcock's known for doing comedy type things, but I would say the first half of this movie was quite funny to me. And I think it was meant to be funny. I wasn't like, this is bad funny. It was obviously meant to be jokes there. Like, I'm specifically talking about like the first half of the movie where he starts getting framed and he's like literally like there's a whole scene where he goes into the police department, which I thought was amazing, after these people like basically booze him up, like force him to drink all this bourbon, and then they try and kill him and like frame him by push him off in this car over this cliff. However, he quickly takes over and like drives away drunk and then gets pulled over by the cops. And then there's a part when he's in the police station and the person's like, how much did you drink? And he's like, this much. And he like holds his hands up. And then they're like, how much did you drink? He's like, have you been drinking? So he's like, no, I haven't been drinking. And obviously he's very drunk. He's like, well, it seems like you're drunk. And he's like, yeah, they forced me to drink alcohol, but I haven't been drinking. Like, so there was some real funny parts, and obviously there's the standout scene in this movie, the scene the movie's most famous for, isn't as super exciting now, obviously watching, but I can appreciate how skillful and amazing it would have been seen back in the day, which is the plane scene. That was like the key scene that this movie was kind of known for, and I've seen that before in different like top 10 lists of famous movie scenes and whatnot.
Homages to it.
Yeah, homages. Yeah, it's like a ripped off scene. So this is one of those movies that is famous enough that I can understand jokes about it in video games and movies like Destroy All Humans, but I'd never actually watched for myself. So it's always interesting to watch those super famous things like that backwards. My only one criticism that I kind of have, I guess I got two. So my first one is I think it goes for a little bit too long. I think it plays a little bit too hard into the romance stuff, and some of that stuff could have just been cut completely, and I think the movie would have worked fine. But old movies back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, fucking whatever, they all had to have romantic interest because that's how you got people in to see the cinema. That's how they marketed them. Another thing that kind of annoyed me, that's also just a thing that all old movies have, is the Cary Grant's mother is played by an actress who's 9 years older than him, but he looks 20 years older than her. And this is a very common thing you see in old movies, because they would always cast like really young actresses, even as the mother characters, because you've got to have like this, you've got to have sex appeal and everything for the female characters. But it just fucking annoys me every time I see it. I'm like, he literally looks like her father. Like, it's not her, she's not his mother. It was kind of annoying me the whole movie. But other than that, I think it's really funny. It's got some cool action moments. It's basically a James Bond movie without being a James Bond movie, I guess. Like, this guy kind of gets chucked into a mistaken identity thing and then ends up becoming like a secret agent on the run. Hijinks ensue. That's like the basic way I'd kind of pitch it to people. And it's different than most other Hitchcock stuff I'd say I've watched, because obviously Hitchcock mostly known for the thrillers, I guess is the, not like horrors, but thrillers. So yeah, I thought it was really, really good. Really good.
Ciaran, I'm guessing you have never seen North by Northwest before?
I haven't seen it, and the only Hitchcock movie I've ever actually watched is The Birds. So, this movie was a really good reminder that I probably should take the time to.
Wait, you haven't watched Psycho?
Sit down and.
Have you watched Psycho, Ash?
I've never watched Psycho in full. I've watched like the new, like the remakes and stuff, but not. The
Let me jump in here and say this is my first Hitchcock film.
Oh, okay. You should watch The Birds. Birds is fantastic.
Dylan is reacting.
I think he is. He's a wacky, crazy, inflatable arm man.
Why are you surprised?
I'm not surprised. I shouldn't be surprised, but I'm just like, not a single Hitchcock movie, and you host the movie podcast? That's disturbing.
I'm surprised I've watched more than you. I've watched one more than you have.
The bar is pretty low when he said he's watched zero.
The bar is extremely low. But I thought it was really enjoyable. I think Cary Grant holds this movie together really well as its lead. I think some movies sometimes, especially when they're comedies, the humor doesn't age very well. Some of it can be a bit slapstick or hit and miss at times. I think the only thing that suffers for this movie is just the runtime, as Dylan already said. As it's getting to those later parts of the movie, you start feeling it drag a little bit.
Hitchcock's longest movie as well, as a side. This is his longest movie.
Oh, is it actually?
Yeah, all of his other movies are like an hour 50 or like even shorter than that. This is his longest by quite a margin.
Yeah. So, yeah, but it is held together really well. And there is, as it starts to slow down, it does kind of pick itself up and move back into kind of more forward momentum scenes. So I think overall it's a really good movie.
If I was going to pick where it slowed down too much, it is the train sequence where the romance stuff comes up and they like just spend a whole bunch of scenes with him and, what is the actress's name again? Eva Marie Saint. Yeah, those two get to know one another and then romance ensues and whatever. Like that whole train stuff just bunkered a little bit.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the film. I thought it was great. Again, the humor, like I wasn't expecting it. I was expecting it to be way more serious than it was. Cary Grant, amazing. Just the way he talks about everything, yeah, amazing. I enjoyed all the romance stuff. I think it was perfectly fine. I like the back and forth between the two. If you kind of go interesting directions at certain points, obviously, towards the end, I felt that went on a bit too long. Like I felt like they could have spared. I assume if you did the movie now, you would like cut things a little bit cleaner and cut together. But yeah, really good. There's some really fantastic shots in here. The one that stood out to me was the aerial shot from outside the World Trade Center. No, the United Nations Center. Like from like
there you go.
Like almost the top of the building.
Did you look up the trivia for the United Nations scenes?
No.
So United Nations, Hitchcock wanted to film there, and they wouldn't let him. And he was like, well, fuck this. So that's why you have this really wide angle whenever Cary Grant's like walking amongst the reception there, because Hitchcock just set up across the street and literally just filmed Cary Grant walking around in there. And apparently people were like, oh my God, famous actors just walking around here. And then that's why when he cuts across between different rooms, it's these huge wide angle shots. And then when he goes into the rooms, it goes back to like proper like close-ups and interacting with
I do remember
people,
he gets out of a taxi and then they cut to another, like must have been a close-up shot, and it just did not match at all.
Yeah, so they were doing Hitchcock was doing guerrilla filmmaking in 1959 on a big...
No, but that massive aerial shot, I don't know how they would have done it back then.
I don't know how they got
like with their drones.
Yeah.
Or cranes, yeah.
A really big ladder.
Well, all that plane stuff was mostly real as well. Like, a lot of it.
I mean, how did they do the friggin'...
I don't know.
Spoilers, I guess, for this film, but how did they get that plane to crash into that oil tanker?
Oh, that's models.
Models.
If you go back and watch that, the when it hits the truck is clearly a model, and that stood out to me. I could tell it was actually a model, but the rest of it is plates and whatever else. But they did film a real plane like flying around and all that other sort of stuff.
Really good.
But even the combination of melding it with models in 59 was still
impressive.
Like, obviously an explosive action scene.
Yeah, incredible. So yeah, I think certain humorous things like play more better now. Even I found him like stealing the truck after that the plane crashed in. Very humorous. A bunch of little stuff. Yeah, I was again much funnier than I was expecting.
The way
to
he
be.
plays that character is quite good. Like even the part where he's at the auction and then the cops arrest him and he's sitting in the back. He's like, "I called for you fellas," and he's like, "What do you mean you called for us? We're the police." He's like, "Yeah, well, you were taking forever to get here," or what? Like whatever he says. Like just the way he delivers some lines that are kind of make it work for the comedy aspect.
Yeah. So yeah, way funnier than I was expecting. Again, yeah, probably a bit too long, but yeah, really good. Was it the real Mount Rushmore or was it like a full-on set?
I think it's a real. I actually think it might have been.
It's a set.
I think the close-up might have been
it's a
sets, but I think
set.
they filmed on top of it. Like maybe we'd have to check.
Yeah.
Did you just type it in Google?
But yeah,
Ew.
there was some also like other stuff that you could tell was like shot on a video wall or something. Like obviously, anytime they're in a car,
the cars.
Yeah, I mean, which worked well for the drunk driving scene. Kind of made it seem like he was more drunk than he probably was. But yeah,
I found the answer. The only authentic shots of Mount Rushmore in North by Northwest are the ones looking at the monument from a distance. The shooting and subsequent ambulance scenes were filmed in an actual monument cafeteria and surrounding grounds, whatever that means. While Hitchcock did have an original permit to film on and around the mountain, rumor got out that the film involved a fight scene and a couple of deaths on the face of the monument, and government officials banned the production from filming there. Mount Rushmore had to be recreated on a Hollywood set, which is real funny because I think these days I don't care how big you are, you probably would not get permission to film on Mount Rushmore at all.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Sorry, Mount National Treasure.
Yeah.
All right. You guys have anything else to add to this? Feel like we've covered most things. Yeah.
Watch it.
this is an interesting first Hitchcock film, I'd say.
Yeah. Obviously, I feel like it's probably going to be totally different to everything else.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that brings us to the end of this episode of What Do You Want to Watch? If you want to find us on Twitter, you can find us all at explosionnetwork.com/Twitter, or just go to @explosionpod for the main Twitter account. Of course, you can find all our news, reviews, other podcasts at explosionnetwork.com. If you want us to help us out, leave us a review either on Apple Podcasts or on Podchaser, or put out a nice tweet to your followers, or tell a friend about the podcast. Let them know that we're the best podcast on the internet. Because in the world of podcasting, there's no such thing as a lie. There's only expedient exaggeration. It's true. Thank you very much for listening, and until next time, keep watching stuff, I guess. I do want to mention, I forgot to bring up one important Emmy story.
We're going to cut this in?
Yeah, I might just put it at the end. Our favorite streaming service, Quibi, picked up 10 nominations.
Really?
Holy fuck.
I missed this.
That's a lot more.
How do you miss this? This should have been the headline of the thing.
Yep, so they're all in the short form categories.
Oh, really? Who'd
Yeah,
thought?
they picked up 8 of the 10 acting nominations, and then they picked up nominations for Best Comedy or Drama for Most Dangerous Game and Reno 9/11. So, interesting tidbit. That's what $1 gazillion will get you. 10 Emmy nominations.
Well, we're going to take over the short TV category. Yeah, I guess.